my name is Ariel and welcome to Mermaid Astrology. I have a new background for a new video series, so yay! So I wanted to talk to you today about one of the most important parts of astrology, the rising or the ascendant sign. It honestly doesn't matter what you call it, they both mean the same thing. I prefer calling it the ascendant though, because that's just what makes sense in my brain, because its opposite on the 7th house is the descendant, which I'm a big fan of oppositions in astrology. I think it makes everything easier to understand if you understand oppositions. So I like the fact that the words sound similar. Ascendant, descendant. Some people call it your first house, but that's not necessarily true. Your ascendant sign is always going to be the same sign as your first house, but your ascendant falls within your first house. So for example, your first house goes from 0 to like 29 degrees basically. And your ascendant is a specific point in your first house, a specific degree in your first house. Like it could be 9 degrees, 13 degrees, any number between 0 and 29, etc. God, that's such boring technical astrology crap no one probably cares about. Let's get into the exciting part of your ascendant. So your ascendant is pretty much the part of yourself that you are the most comfortable with. So you push that towards like the forefront of your personality. It's the part of you that's just instinct. You don't have to try to be your ascendant sign. You just naturally are that. Your ascendant is the way you behave a lot of the time without even realizing it. It's not like the conscious part of yourself, it's the way you behave a lot of the time without even thinking. You know when you have a day where you feel like you're just like on autopilot mode the entire time? Well, on those days, that's your ascendant is doing most of the work throughout the day. You're basically just behaving like your ascendant sign all day. I think it's interesting with your ascendant, you have to know the exact time you were born. All your other planets in astrology, if you don't know the exact time, you could still probably figure out what sign that planet is in, but you cannot do that with the ascendant sign. The fact you have to know the exact time you were born for your ascendant is telling because you are your ascendant from birth. A lot of the other planets or parts of your personality are developed over time. When you think about it, a baby isn't born with a complex or a deep personality. That's developed as you grow up. When you were a baby, you were the most basic parts of your personality traits. So with the ascendant, it's the way you come into the world the second you are born. You were already that basic part of your personality before anything else starts to develop. For example, using a personal example, I'm a Virgo rising, and my mom always likes to, you know, moms like to tell stories repeatedly. She likes to tell the story of how when I was born, the nurses in the hospital did not like me because I refused to sleep, and I was so basically like fascinated by the world, and I watched everything that they did. They, in fact, told her I was not an angelic baby, so I should not be named Ariel. I did go on to be a problem child, though, so I think they were probably right. I know people have babies who are Cancer risings, and basically with those babies, if someone else holds them besides their parents for too long, they freak out because they are so already attached to their parents. Have you ever seen a Pisces rising baby? They don't even quite look like they're there. They look like they're lost, like in their own little universe, in their own little world, and that's because they already are. So basically, your ascendant is the part of your personality that is present in you from the moment you are born. A lot of astrologers refer to the ascendant as the mask you wear to the world, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that that is wrong. I hate that comparison. It is an analogy in astrology that needs to die. I think it confuses so many people about what the ascendant actually is. The ascendant isn't a mask because mask implies that it's fake. The ascendant is a big chunk of who you are. It is a very real part of who you are because it is the part of yourself that you already are from birth. It's the part of yourself you're the most comfortable with. So it's the part of yourself that you show everybody. When we meet someone for the first time, we're not like, here's the deepest, most complicated parts of ourselves because we aren't crazy. So what we show is the more surface level side to ourselves, but that doesn't mean that that side of ourselves isn't real or a big part of our personality. It doesn't mean we are lying. It is just the first part of ourselves we choose to present to people. Another reason I don't like the term mask is because it implies that eventually the mask comes off when it doesn't. Even people who know you well will see you acting like your ascendant all the time because your ascendant is such a huge part of your personality. It's just now that they are seeing a lot more complexity and a lot more depth from your other astrology placements to go along with your ascendant sign. You don't stop being a Taurus ascendant or a Libra ascendant once you get to know someone. They're still gonna see you as stubborn, like the sign of Taurus is, or as diplomatic, like the sign of Libra is. It's just that now they see other qualities that you possess along with the qualities of your ascendant. While mask is the wrong term, I would say that your ascendant is your armor. It's the parts or the qualities of your personality that you use to protect yourself. When you feel uncomfortable, you switch into your ascendant sign in order to navigate the situation. When you feel guarded, you're acting like your ascendant sign. When you're interacting with people who you don't like or you don't trust, you switch into those ascendant sign qualities as a way of protecting yourself because you want to give those people like the bare minimum of your personality. As I said earlier, your ascendant is how you behave when you first meet people. So basically, it's others' first impression of you. Ascendants are basically why some first impressions are correct and others are not. You know when you get to know someone well and you're like, oh, they're actually way different than my first impression of them was. That's because the rest of their natal chart is different than the sign that's on their ascendant. Or sometimes you meet people and your first impression is spot on because the rest of their natal chart is very similar to their ascendant sign. It all depends on if your ascendant is similar to everything else that's going on in your natal chart, whether your first impression to people is going to be correct or not. It's sort of a controversial opinion with some astrologers, but I personally think that your ascendant sign is more important than your sun sign, especially when you are younger. Sun signs are just way more popular because everyone knows their sun signs. Sun signs don't change up from year to year, from time basically. Not everyone knows the exact moment they were born or even goes and looks it up. So sun signs are just way easier for people to talk about. When it comes to your sun sign, you grow into it over time. You really don't come into it as much until you're in your 20s versus your rising sign, it's just the part of your personality you were born with. Now over time, you do start to move away from a lot of the personality traits of your ascendant sign as you grow more into your sun and as you grow more into your midheaven, which is a whole other complicated topic that I am not going to get into here. But even as you grow older, your ascendant sign still remains. Those personality traits are still there. They just might not be as dominant or as prominent of a part of your personality. That all depends on your natal chart, of course. Like if you have your sun on your ascendant, you're actually gonna grow even more into your ascendant sign. You have to look at the whole chart to see how accurate that is or isn't for you. Now, when it comes to people who refuse to grow, those are people who strongly act out the personality traits of their ascendant sign forever. Those are people who constantly live in fear because our ascendant sign is what we fall back on when we're afraid, right? So because they are afraid all the time, they're constantly acting like their ascendant sign. So they aren't becoming more complicated or well-rounded individuals. They're very like stunted in their growth, basically. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, I'm going to do my first impression of each ascendant sign video next. And then I'm going to do individualized videos on each ascendant sign. So if you're not subscribed already, subscribe below to see when those videos pop up. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day, night, whatever time it is there. Bye.